What's up everyone, this is Marky2200 and welcome back to my Need for Speed testing series. Today I'll be ranking all the starter cars from Need for Speed Underground 2 with streets, performance and body upgrades for regular racing. The reason why I chose street upgrades compared to the other upgrades is because, well, you get access to street upgrades as soon as you enter Beacon Hill. That's about 7 or so races into the campaign. And you'll get access to the pro parts once you enter Cole Harbor. So you'll have to endure the street package for 2 whole stages. That's why I've chosen the street package upgrades. This time all the cars have been tuned properly, and tunes of all the cars are in the description down below. Like with the drifting videos I did with Pro Street, I'll be ranking these cars on 2 different tracks. The first one is going to be Grouse Grind, a technical track where the focus is on handling and braking. While the second one is going to be Outer Ring, a track where speed is absolutely key. Reason for this is because there's still a surprising amount of races that feature a speed section, so you definitely need that top end. But because the main focus is on handling, the results on Grouse Grind will be 2 times as important as results on the Outer Ring. Returning from the undercover videos is the championship system, because in the end you'll only be taking a couple of cars during your career, so it's important to tell which car is best overall. We'll start with the results from the handling track Grouse Grind, and we'll actually start with the SUVs because why not? You'll have access to them pretty much as soon as you enter Beacon Hill, and SUVs have their own separate races. Worst among them, however, is easily the Hummer. I'm not gonna dive too deeply into this. Basically all you need to know is that the Hummer is by far the worst, trailing the Escalade, which is second with about 12 seconds, which is just absolutely insane. I mean, the Escalade is just, I don't know, the Hummer just feels like it has no handling capabilities whatsoever. The Escalade is at least decent in this regard. However, easily the best is the Navigator. Even though the Navigator is only 4 seconds better than the Escalade, this car actually feels like it has some handling capabilities. But enough about the SUVs, moving on to the regular starter cars, last of which is the 240 SX. First of all, let me show you how this car starts. You want to use hydraulics at the start and look at how this car bloody wheelies. This is just absolutely insane. It's still terrible though. Rears, even at the mildest tune, still oversteers very easily, meaning you can't really push it. Such a shame. The fronts have got good downforce and good grip, but it's just those rears. The MX-5 is, I would say, on the other side. The balance is good, the grip is there, the downforce is there, it feels powerful. So I just don't get why this car is so low at this list. It just feels genuinely alright. So I can't really make heads or tails why this car is just 7th best. Next up at number 6 we have the Focus. And the Focus, I mean, the steering feels somewhat heavy, but to me it feels like a very natural car. In other words, it was very easy to get a good lap time for this car. I only needed like, I don't know, 2 or 3 genuine good laps. So yeah, that's at least something. At number 5 we have the Civic. And just as an Underground 1, the Civic's 5th gear is just too long. However, I would say that's the only negative point of this car. The car space is overall very good, and it feels like it's good in everything. You know, good power, good grip, good downforce, everything is there. Coming at number 4 we have the Turbo 6, and the Turbo 6 is just vastly different from Underground 1. Because here it feels like it isn't really that grippy or that downforce heavy. In here it feels like it's more on the powerful side than the handling side, so that's a complete turnaround from Underground 1. Coming at number 3 we have the 106, and I want to talk about the top 3 in general because first of all they are just in a league of their own. Second, these are probably not the best lap times that I could have achieved, but that's simply for the reason because they would simply not be able to get a lap time that is better than the car that's a spot higher in this list. Because where the 106 did a 206.53, the Corsa did a 204.56. I mean, that's just that's pretty much 2 seconds faster. And you know, the 106 has got good handling, it's got bad power though. But I would simply not be able to get a better lap time than that. I mean, the Corsa is a very good car overall, but it would simply not be able to touch number 1, the Corolla. I mean, we made the already insane Corolla even better, because apparently installing the differential cuts the power to about 85% of its full potential. Even though it doesn't show that in the dyno, and I would assume that's because it's bugged and not a nerf. With the power back, this car simply sits comfortably at the top for handling based racing. Like I mentioned near the beginning of this video, the championship is back. However, at this stage there's not much to tell. Obviously the cars that did better at Grouse Grind gained more points than cars that did worse. Also mentioned in the beginning, the results for Grouse Grind yield double the points compared to the rest of the results. Meaning that the most points the cars can get for the remaining test is just 20 points. We're not done with this video yet though, because like mentioned, I've also tested these cars for speed on the outer ring track. And just like Grouse Grind, I've also tested the SUVs, so let's start with those. Worst of the SUVs, just like the Grouse Grind test, is the Hummer, and it's not even close. Did this game as a surprise though, really? I mean, the Hummer just trails the rest of the SUVs by about 5 seconds. This time however, the Navigator is second best and the Escalade is the best. However, I would still recommend that you choose the Navigator overall because the Navigator was only a second and a bit worse than the Escalade on the outer ring. But it handles so much better than the Escalade. For your SUVs, if you choose an SUVs, just pick the Navigator and don't look back. Obviously, unless you want a challenge, but just use the Navigator. For the regular cars, I mean, the worst among them is the 106. I mean, it's clear that this car was made for handling and not speed. It's about half a second worse than the next best car, so that's quite something. Coming at number 7 we have the Corsa, which I am quite surprised by, because it did so well in the Grouse Grind test, but it's clear that it's mainly because of its handling. So yeah, top speed wise it's just lacking big time. Then coming at number 6 we have the Focus, and the Focus, I mean the pace wise between the Corsa and the Focus is pretty much identical. I mean it's just a 10th faster than the Corsa. But honestly, these cars could have swapped places because, yeah, it just feels that similar. Next up we have the 206, which I'm also quite surprised by because it felt like the reason why it was decent on Grouse Grind was because of its power and speed and not because of its handling. But apparently it's just average speed-wise, and with the Miata, I just don't get it. I mean, during the Grouse Grind test, it felt like it had very good handling, but it was still pretty much bottom of this list. And I felt like that was because of its power and speed, not because of its handling. But now in the outer ring speed, it is above average, and I just don't get this car. How is it this good for speed? I just don't get it. The 240SX at the podium positions makes somewhat sense because of its mad acceleration. Remember, the car wheelies insanely for the Grouse Grind test, and even though this car's drivetrain is now fully tuned towards top speed, it still tops out at 260 km an hour, but I guess the acceleration is where this car shines. Then we have the Civic at number 2, and the Civic just feels like an overall upgraded version of the 206. Despite its 5th gear being just way too long, it feels like it has more power compared to the 206, but a worse gearbox, if that makes sense. However, at number 1, and once again, this car just can't be touched, and it's mainly because of the removal, or the absence I would say, of the differential upgrade. It is absolutely critical, because when I tested this car with the differential upgrade, it was like, I don't know, 7th best or something. So yeah, moral of the story, the Corolla is the best, but only with the absence of the differential upgrade. That's essential. When looking at the standings after the outer ring test, we see movements from all cars except the Corsa and the Corolla. I mean, the Corolla sits very comfortably at first place, almost having double the points of the Corsa, which sits at P2. Then the Civic and the 240SX, the cars that finished the outer ring test in the podium positions, both gain 2 spots in the standings, while the rest of the cars all lose 1 spot. And then I'm just noticing it's actually quite close though for the positions 3rd, 4th and 5th, and it's also quite close for the bottom 3 positions. I am actually quite curious how all this will end up. So those were all the starter cars and SUVs ranked worst to best for racing in general with just the street performance package. Once again, tunes and builds of these cars are all in the description down below, and don't forget, with the Corolla you don't want to install a differential upgrade. For now, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. The next testing video will be all the starter cars ranked worst to best with the street performance package for drag racing. Until then, this has been Mark2200, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you very soon. Take care!